Welcome to the series we're about to start on talking to veterans and current service personnel, all in support of National Armed Forces Week and part of what the outreach work that AJEX does. So today I'm going to be talking to Jeffrey Fox, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience as a national serviceman and also why he's involved with AJEX. So, hello, Jeffrey.
Good morning.
Nice for you to be here with us. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your national service days.
Well, I went in actually the day after the coronation, and I remember we had to tramp over fields because we were given the day off to watch the RAF fly past. But I went in 53, and I had quite an easy time. I was in charge of sports for the whole of Southern Command. I must have done a pretty awful job because when I was demobbed, they rang me up at home and asked me to go back for 6 months as a civilian, but that's another story. One very quick, funny story. I was senior Jewish officer on duty one Friday night, and the guards rang me and said, would I go down to the guard room? When I got there, there was a little yeshiva bocher sitting there. And they said he won't eat or drink anything. And I couldn't persuade him, so I rang the then senior chaplain. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm in the middle of making Shabbos. I said, well, I'm sorry, you're getting in your car and you're driving over here. Fortunately, he was a reform minister, but he did come. He took him away. And the sad thing is I never found the end of the story. But of course, there were 10,000 Jewish national servicemen. But because the chaplains didn't fill in cards like they did for those during the war, we have no record of those 10,000. And apart from a few of us who did come forward, the main bulk are unknown to us, which is a great pity.
So when you carried out your national service, what was it like at that time? Because of course you weren't exactly, you weren't a volunteer, but at the same time, were you willing to go and do your bit?
Well, I really didn't have any option. I was unlucky and lucky in a way. A lot of the guys who were recruited at my time went to Korea. I don't really understand that because the war in Korea finished in 53, and yet I can remember a whole squad going out. I wasn't included because I developed a skin condition because of poor hygiene, and that's how I ended up working at headquarters, running sports of all things. Although I was in the medical corps, had no sports experience. That's what I spent my time doing. I didn't encounter any adverse conditions, and I didn't actually come across any other Jewish national servicemen, although there were 3,000 on the camp where I was. You could say it was a waste of time, but I learned to type, and I think, it did help in later life. You have experience that you wouldn't have had otherwise as a teenager, so I don't regret it, although I could have probably done well without it.
But you later on in life, you became a member of AJEX, and not just a member, you're a very active participant in much of the running of AJEX. What made you decide to do that?
Well, we had a chap who was chairman of the Newcastle branch, and every year he nagged me to come to the parade. And I kept saying, don't be daft, I would feel like a fraud. I haven't contributed, I didn't fight in the war. Anyway, finally, after about 5 years, he persuaded me, and I went down and I realized I'd made a terrible mistake and that I should get involved. And I can't remember exactly the chain of events, but I remember I was co-opted onto what was then the NEC, the Executive Council. And from there, I became deputy chairman, and obviously then proceeded to be chairman. And I must have done a fairly good job because they asked me to do a third year, which is very unusual. I think there's only one other chairman who did 3 years. So I'm proud and privileged to have been able to make a contribution and play a part.
it will be a shame not to see you at the Arboretum this year with the picture that you have behind us. But as we, just to change one of our continuous message, I won't say next year in Jerusalem. I'll say next year in Lichfield. We'll be back at the Arboretum, and I'll see you there. Thanks ever so much for your time, Jen.
I sincerely hope so. Thank you.